But with these giant-ass spoilers, they can't really see giant-ass spoilers.
The Dale Jr. download. Hey, everybody, it's Dale Jr. for another episode of the Dale Jr. Download. Co-host Mike Davis, producer Matthew Dillner, and social media guru Leah Vaughn is here. That was a wild weekend in NASCAR. Talladega delivered. I was really shocked at the 2 and 3 wide racing that sustained itself throughout the entire race. Typically, we see the guys get up on the high side and sort of chill out for a while. There's a lull in the action at pretty much most of the Talladega races. Not this one. For whatever reason, the new motor rules as far as the tapered spacer, they've gotten away from the restrictor plates, and there is a difference apparently between the two and how the car responds. And also this giant-ass spoiler on the back of the car.
As you so eloquently put it, right? On the broadcast.
Yeah. It's just sometimes you're in the broadcast and you're comfortable.
Yeah.
And you're honest all the time. If you're honest all the time, sometimes you're going to speak the way you speak to your friends. And that's one of the things that we hear a lot from our fans and supporters is that, you know, it sounds like the broadcast is just friends hanging out, like they're sitting at the bar listening to their buddies talk about the race, and sometimes those worlds sort of collide and they merge, and that's kind of what happened there. Is I got sort of carried away. I hate the visual look of that spoiler. It's ugly, and it's huge and obnoxious. There's no one in the world right now that could argue with the fact that it is the most obnoxious, ugly rear spoiler. Now, the wing was pretty ugly too, but in spoiler terms, this has to be an all-time low for NASCAR. But it's effective in what it does. It creates big runs, and it has a role in, if you like the racing, it has a role in that. Mm-hmm. It plays a role in giving you the racing that you enjoy. But it's ugly.
And it's big ass.
And it's annoying. And so I think when I was saying that was me sort of popping off.
I'm surprised you went this long. Frankly, everybody tells you, be yourself, be yourself. Man, you went a year and a half without saying big ass, on a telecast. I was impressed.
Well, I thought I was in real trouble when I did it because we're on NBC, the big network. It's okay, I guess, if you're on NBCSN to let one slip because Kyle Petty has said hell and a few other things on the NASCAR America shows and whatnot. So I text my boss, Sam, immediately from the booth while we're standing there. I said, I cussed. That's unfortunate. And he said, it's not the first time that you've cussed on national television for NBC at Talladega. Referencing the time I said 2004.
Yeah.
So he was, that let me know right away it was all right and didn't have anything to worry about or wasn't going to get a stern talking to. I just and when I said that on Twitter, people's reaction was, you don't have to apologize for that. Well, it's not that I felt like I needed to apologize as much as I never just want to disappoint my boss, right? He's hired me to, and he has this vision or expectation of what I'm going to be doing every day, and boy, do I don't want to let him down. So, but anyways, it worked out. Everybody seemed to get a laugh out of it, and anyhow, we had a great race. End of the race, so let's cover it, man. Coming down to the finish, the 12 car of Ryan Blaney goes, fakes to the outside, then goes to the inside of Ryan Newman. They come down the front straightaway. Newman gave him about 7/8 of a car length. There wasn't a whole car length there for Ryan to go through. Ryan was intent on staying above the yellow line. They made contact. It turned Ryan's car sideways. He corrected the car, ended up at one point below the yellow line, and then crossed the finish line. I think fans are drawing a parallel to the truck race where they penalized Sauter.
Yep.
They did not penalize Newman. NASCAR had a reason for doing that. And I think right or wrong, I don't really, I used to years ago go, that was a bad call. This is a good call. But I don't even do that anymore. I don't even do that anymore. I'm far I'm past that and on to, do we need a line rule? Do we even need it? Right? If this, so this is the situation for me. The yellow line rule keeps coming up. And with the way the cars draft and race now, more than often, we're going to have cars trying to pass, coming through the trioval on the very last lap at Talladega. That's just because of the way the rules are. There's always going to be a car trying to pass another one coming to that position of the racetrack, and we're going to, or down the back straightaway, whatever it is, and even during the race. The yellow line rule seems to be coming up race after race after race. We talk about it at some point in February. There's a dispute. There's a controversy, whether it trucks, Xfinity, and it happened again this past weekend. My reaction to that isn't what can we do about the rule. My reaction to that is, let's get rid of it. Let's get it off the freaking table.
Hell yeah.
What the hell? Why do we put ourselves in a position? Why do we want to go into next year with the same opportunity to have the same controversy, to have the same stink, to have the same disputes, to have the fans in an uproar? Why do we want to keep going back? We got to just get rid of it. Just get rid of the line.
Can we at least recognize what was the point of the rule to begin with? Let's start there. The point of the rule was to do what?
The point of the rule really was they felt like that cars would go below the line, and then trying to merge back into racing traffic, it was creating crashes, right?
Right.
Creating accidents. Now, we had a lot of accidents Sunday, tons.
Yeah.
None created by the yellow line.
That's true.
Right. Pile-ups, plenty of action, plenty of crashes, more than anybody could ever expect.
It was
right?
carnage.
It was. None created by the yellow line. If anything, maybe taking that yellow line rule away might cause less wrecks. If anything. I don't believe that it will add to the carnage. I just feel like that, allow the drivers to police themselves is probably in some situations where it's a judgment call, and the yellow line rule apparently is a judgment call because it's hard for, NASCAR has to get into the middle of intent, how severe was the block, all this nonsense. It's better, I think, in those situations just to let the drivers police themselves. If the drivers want to try to pass on the apron and be daring and be dangerous and courageous, allow it. Let it happen.
Yep.
What's the harm, right?
Well, there's an answer to that.
They're already crashing.
Yeah.
So what? Go ahead if you want to dispute that.
I don't know if I want to dispute it. I remember when the rule got implemented, and it was exactly what you just said. It was to, quote unquote, protect the drivers from themselves.
Yes.
Because we know that rules basically happen because
I think
there was a precedent or an incident that happened, and so they look at it and say, okay, we have to act on it, and let's implement a rule because if somebody must have, I don't remember what happened, but somebody must have come up in traffic and caused it.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think at any time NASCAR felt like that was going to solve the crashing problem. They took one basically of 10 different ways drivers can crash themselves and tried to eliminate one. Did it work? I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a problem with the yellow line rule coming up every year because I think that drivers will take advantage of any opportunity that you got. If there's no yellow line rule, they will go down there to try to pass and advance their position. Right. So
then NASCAR doesn't have to jump in and make a decision. Then we don't have to have a stink about the end of the truck race versus the cup race.
100%.
We don't have to. None of that is a conversation anymore.
I didn't think any of those two were very similar at all. I thought they were definitely different. I think that I end up being is you drivers would know more about that than anybody else. And so if you felt like that's something that you don't feel less safe, by doing it, then you drivers can make that decision. And there's a lot of drivers that don't want to race at Talladega to begin with, the yellow line rule or not.
Well, I'm not a driver in the sense of any, so I don't have a driver's perspective. All right. I'm not going to have a driver's perspective. I'm a viewer. I'm a fan. I want less mud in the face of the sport.
I got
From a credibility standpoint. So going forward, if this is creating a credibility issue and this is a bad optic for the sport, let's just get rid of it and allow the drivers to handle it. Look, you're going to have drivers that are not willing to lift, that are going to dive onto that apron and create a mess. They're going to have to stand in front of their peers responsible for those repercussions. So in that sense, that's what I mean by the drivers policing themselves. You got a guy out there that makes a mistake, goes on the apron and creates a problem for everybody. He's going to have to think about that the next time he's in that situation because the drivers are going to let him know that he made a mistake. All right? And that they don't think that what he did was the right thing to do. And over time, things will work themselves out. Drivers will understand what the etiquette is. And where NASCAR doesn't have to react, doesn't have to jump in and try to save the drivers from themselves. And so if it's any kind of a shame or embarrassment on the sport as a whole for its credibility and growth and future, I hate it. I don't like it.
And you're already are you saying that it is?
I feel like that anytime there's dispute where if the race ends and the fans have a negative opinion about a choice NASCAR had to make or a decision NASCAR had to make about the end result of the race, we got an issue.
I gotcha. You want it doesn't need to be any ambiguity on how the race winner was determined.
Yeah.
Period. Other than crossing the finish line first.
Right. And so similar to where the NFL's having problems even from last night's Monday Night Football game with the Lions about disputes about the penalties and how it's costing teams games, right? I want NASCAR to get out of the judgment call business. I'm sure NASCAR would love to be out of that. They would love to not have to make judgment calls or make any decisions. So I don't know if I'm telling you, I feel like it won't happen tomorrow. It might not happen next year, but that yellow line rule is not forever. One day it's going to be gone. One day NASCAR and somebody's going to realize, look, this is something we just don't even need to get in the middle of anymore. Let the drivers handle it and be done with it.
You make a good argument, actually, and I didn't know where I netted out on it, but you make the point of it's not about look, everybody's intentions on rules are always good. There's restrictor plates on the motors because why? Teams made those cars so fast, couldn't keep them on the track. So you got to restrict them. Does anybody love restrictor plates? No. Does it make a better show if they were off? Yeah. Would they be flying off the track? Yeah. But they did it to protect. So the intentions of these rules are good. You make a very solid point of let's find a solution that doesn't leave NASCAR having to make judgment calls where the winner of the race actually didn't cross the line first. And that is a fair argument because nobody wants to go pay money or watch a race or devote your time and not actually know who won the race after they just watched a guy win, right? And that's fair. I think they made rule changes just over the past few years to eliminate a lot of that, right? You didn't want to go on Tuesday or Wednesday going, who won the race?
Yeah.
Oh, somebody got the win stripped. They eliminated that. Maybe that's something that NASCAR can work towards. And if it's eliminating the yellow line rule, so be it. There's just so many drivers out there that if I'm racing, I wouldn't want them going to the apron and cutting back in traffic because I have no confidence that they know how to do it or would do it without taking everyone out. But I can't say that that's the only way they would take out the whole field either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I will say one thing that irks me about it that I've heard nobody talk about is, okay, if that Johnny Sauter deal with Riley Herbst happened with 6 to go and they made that little bit of contact and they came back and they were in the same position, it wouldn't have been a penalty. But because it was on the last lap with that yellow line rule, now you got a guy that was in third or second or so there winning, and Johnny Sauter's relegated to 14th place.
How do you know it wouldn't have been a penalty?
Because they didn't advance their position in the block.
Oh.
It wouldn't have been a penalty. If that was 6 to go, that would have just been racing. They
I don't know. They might have penalized Johnny for blocking. They've done it before in the middle of the race.
So yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but you're being subjective on
I'm
it.
being subjective,
for
yes.
sure. So
Yes.
they could have penalized.
My whole point is I don't want to hear this whole conversation ever
That's right.
again. So get rid of the
Yeah.
rule. I don't want to debate it. I don't want to
good
wonder
with
what
that.
happened if it was halfway through the race. No disrespect. I like your point, but I don't want to argue it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to stand in the booth and watch it. I don't want to have to wait for NASCAR to view it.
Right.
None of that crap. Take it out.
We should be talking about the run that Newman had with Denny Hamlin pushing and
Hell
Blaney. And I mean, because it was a sick race. You're
Yeah.
right.
Sick
I
finish.
totally get your point. No, for sure. Because that was a heck of a race, a heck of a finish. Newman shot out of a cannon. Oh man,
The rules.
Insane.
I think the rules that we ought to, the rules. If the rules are black and white, if there's a pure line of right and wrong, such as intolerance in a motor and heights on a car, or whatever, a black and white rule is one thing, but any judgment call, man, that's just bad for business.